good morning to everyone. I'm really happy to see that digital transformation is the topic that you are also interested, not only these gentlemen. And I'm also to share with you that the digital transformation in CAMCA we started to discuss from last year from the Baku edition of CAMCA 5th Forum. And today I would rather accept that we have much more interesting panelists than we had in Baku. So it means that we are improving. Before, I don't want to say many words, but the digital transformation is the main idea is to change the way of the things that we were doing in our daily life. And the one very interesting statistics I was reading in the last couple of days that 83% of our new day starts with the transformative change. And this is the alarm in our cell phones that we are using to wake up. So in our daily life, we feel it, but do we really feel it on a society level, on the country level? And so our panelists will help us to understand if it's happening. And the first I would like to ask a very smart lady from Georgia. Mariam is joining us and representing JITA, Georgia. Absolutely. She is doing a lot. I mean, she really decided that innovation, something can help the Georgia to develop. But even more, I would like to ask her to share the Georgian experience and the experiences happening in the CAMCA region. So our guests also are interested in especially if the digital transformation is happening in CAMCA. And first, I mean, we can hear your experience from Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here. Definitely, our panel has been increased from last year, and lots of the things have happened from the last year. But the question is really whether the digital transformation is really happening in our region. Basically, digital transformation is not something like luxury reforms or the reforms which has to be good for developed countries, but it is precondition in our century in order to develop any reform. So it's kind of not having, for instance, the internet is not having the electricity. And internet is not nowadays becoming the luxury, so it's like a precondition of having the basic access to the data, basic access to the information. Therefore, sometimes we're talking about the fancy reforms, some blockchain, artificial intelligence, while we see that in the regions, especially in like villages, there is not a very basic access to the internet. And we are lacking the digital skills and education in the regions. In that respect, I have to highlight some of the good reforms which has been conducted in recent years in Georgia, which can be easily replicated, and we are ready to share this experience to our neighboring and to our friend countries among CAMCA, which is like, first, the government prioritized developing knowledge economy. And when we're talking about digital transformation and digital economy development, some of the key factors have been identified. So one of them was developing the infrastructure, physical infrastructure among the country, and this is called Broadband for All project, throughout which the government will be conducting the fiber optic internet connection together with the internet service providers. Another thing is developing the demand on this digital like internet. So whenever we were conducting the needs assessment in the regions, still there was a lack of awareness about the usage of the internet. Still, the people were having the idea that this is for millennials and this is for social networking and this is not for us. Therefore, we started the program Broadband for Development, which is having two major directions. One is the digital skills development, digital literacy for households, and second one is the e-commerce trainings for MSMEs in order to simplify usage of the internet in the regions. And on the other side, when we are promoting this to the households, we are promoting it to the companies, but then the government has to be innovative and integrate, absorb the technology itself. So we have been a pioneer integrating the blockchain in our governing system. We have blockchain for the land and property registration. We are also integrating artificial intelligence for the educational system, serving our students and potential students. So like 3 key points where the digital transformation has to happen is, on the one hand, government to be innovative and absorb the internet, absorb the ICT, promote ICT and innovation for the private sector, and third is provide basic access to the households and to the population to internet and basic access to the digital services.
Thank you. You mentioned several times the word blockchain. I mean, what is exactly blockchain and how it's really changing the life of Georgian citizens?
Well, still there are like consciously of how like blockchain is being developed. What does that word mean? Is it like a just buzzword, or it is really helping? So for our case, I have to say that the blockchain is part of the anti-corruption reform, which means that through blockchain we are integrating, ensuring the transparency. So in land registration and property registration, we saw that there have been some of the difficulties, bureaucracy, bargaining. So blockchain as a technology, separate standing technology, like it's a breakthrough technology which was similar to internet. When the internet was invented, it was like a breakthrough, and no one could imagine that it would be integrated throughout the world. So the blockchain is also the technology, but then people are kind of comparing it to the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies, which is like different. Of course, like cryptocurrencies are using this technology, but sometimes people are mixing, oh, are you having the cryptocurrencies for land registration? No, we're not having it. We're using technology, like blockchain technology, as a secured and transparent tool for having our governing system.
Thank you, Mariam. To audience, we will have enough time, for Q&A. Now, since Mariam also touched the topic about the internet and the born in internet, even she mentioned such a phrase. So let me also introduce our next panelist is Talant. Talant is the chairperson of Internet Society Kyrgyz chapter, and Talant also was a advisor to Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan, and he is also the proud member of CAMCA Network. I would like to ask also him to share his experience in Kyrgyzstan and how the things happening in Kyrgyzstan is also impacting on the regional level.
Thanks so much, Sarkhan. It's a pleasure to be in the same panel with you second time, and I look forward for future discussions and with our colleagues as well. As Sarkhan mentioned, I was working in the digital transformation program of Kyrgyzstan called Tazakom, and Tazakom is translated as clean and transparent society. So in order to get our government to buy the need for digital transformation, we had to pitch it through the way of that digitalization will help fight corruption. As the Mr. Minister was talking this morning, saying that the best way to fight corruption is through transparency. In general, if we look into the global situation at the moment, over 1/2 of the global population is now connected to the internet users. And it's the easy half. So connecting the second half will be much more difficult and slower. And if we speak of Central Asia, actually 4 out of, I think 5 or even 5 out of 6 Central Asian countries, if we include Afghanistan as well, are well below the world average. So connecting Central Asian residents to the internet is a more difficult task than globally, because we're landlocked. Some of our countries have vast territories like Kazakhstan, other countries have very mountainous terrain. So for example, just to bring the fiber optic line to a mountainous village, you only have maybe 4 months a year where you can build the fiber optic line. So I think recognizing these challenges, many of the governments in Central Asia are now embarking on different digital transformation programs. Uzbekistan, for example, announced the Year of Innovation last year. Kyrgyzstan announced this year as Year of Digitalization and Rural Development. Kazakhstan has a program called Digital Kazakhstan. So in general, I think overall our countries are moving in the same direction. The previous speaker, Mariam, was speaking about what it takes to do the digital transformation. I counted maybe 4 aspects, and many of them Mariam listed is infrastructure. So bringing fiber optic lines, most of all, to the villages, to the most remote areas. Once you bring the connectivity, what will there be in the internet? So it's the content. 90% of the content that we consume today is actually not local content, but comes from the outside. Third is the skills. So you have the fiber optic lines, you have the content, but how to use it properly. Will the people just sit in the social media, or will they actually use it for business? Will they use it for educating themselves? And actually, of the 4 aspects that I list, the 4th one, policy and regulation, is the hardest, most challenging. And again, I would like to refer to the discussion this morning. Changing the laws will take a lot of effort. So for example, when we were connecting a very remote village in Kyrgyzstan to the internet, it took us 2 years to do it. Actual building the fiber optic lines, just 2 months, and over a year and a half to get the regulation and permits and everything right. So I think the policy requires a lot of effort. Who are the players in digital transformation? It's of course, I think number 1 is private sector. Wherever the private sector can do the job, we should allow the private sector to do it. If the private sector is not interested, for example, into going to remote areas where there is no market yet, it's of course the government. But in our countries, of course, governments have no enough budget resources to do it. And there is actually a 3rd way where we as internet society is actively working, is the grassroots level, civil society level. And I mentioned this village that we connected. It's called Susamir. It's a very high mountainous village in Kyrgyzstan. It's very famous for its horse milk. And people actually go there in the summer to drink horse milk from Bishkek, from other areas. But people who live there, they didn't have internet and they couldn't advertise their services. And our national operator, Kyrgyz Telecom, listed Susamir as one of 35 villages which it cannot connect to the fiber optic connectivity. And actually, we help the local residents now through a project called Community Networks, themselves build a network, themselves connect to the internet, and now they are the owners of the network. They can negotiate with the private sector, and they maintain their networks themselves. And such experiences also is happening in Georgia. There is an area called Tusheti, very high mountainous touristic area, and also a local initiative helped connect Tusheti, and this story was published in the New York Times. Our story was published in the Deutsche Welle. And we would like to share this experience across the region. I think our neighboring countries, for example, President Mirziyoyev requested that the internet price should be lowered 10 times within a year. And government, private sector will work on it, but if the civil society, the villagers work on it, it will be accomplished much faster. Another area we are working is called Internet Exchange Point that we are building in Fergana Valley. Internet Exchange Point is something where different mobile operators get together and exchange data. And in Central Asia, we have very few of them available, and not one in Fergana Valley, which is the most densely populated area of Central Asia. I think half of the population lives there, and yet one of the most expensive prices for internet is in the Fergana Valley, and soon we'll be launching such an IXP in Osh. And 3rd project that we are doing, also based on local initiatives, it's a project called Bilim Bulagı, or Spring of Knowledge. It's Internet in a Box project, where we bring devices to schools and libraries in rural areas which have no internet connectivity, and these devices have local content. Wikipedia in Kyrgyz language, Khan Academy in Kyrgyz language, e-books, so the children and the teachers in these schools can access these resources without having to access internet if they have no resources or funds. And in conclusion, I just wanted to say that there are many ways for cooperating in CAMCA region, but I think especially internet connectivity is where we can really cooperate, 1, and 2, internet will not develop without the intra-regional cooperation. So it will take joint effort to make the internet cheaper, faster, and high quality for all of our countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Talant. Since you mentioned on the regional projects and you also touched the topic of Uzbekistan, I would like to introduce our next panelist. Is Mr. Bobur Abdullaev. Is the Director of Strategic Development Department at the Ministry of Development of Information Technologies and Communications of Uzbekistan. And I would like to ask him to share what's happening in the country of Uzbekistan and what Uzbekistan is doing, because we know that Uzbekistan is leading with the number of reforms now in the world. So how IT and how the digital world is happening and changing in Uzbekistan, and why you are doing this.
Okay, of course Uzbekistan also involved in the digital transformation, because Uzbekistan population is 30 million, more than 30 million, and more than 60% of these people are youngsters. So we have a very good place where we can improve the ICT, because the youngsters for the ICT, youngsters are most important ones. So we have 81 universities and institutes in my country, and more than 60,000 graduates annually. And among these universities, 21 universities are with the ICT courses. And this year we are opening some more universities about ICT. For example, with the India, we are opening the Amity University in Tashkent, and it will work from the September. And also we have a Korean university for the ICT. It calls Inha University in Tashkent. And this university, and of course we have a biggest university who ranks the second university in country. It's TUIT, Tashkent University of Information Technologies. And of course, these people who will graduate from these universities will be at least entrepreneurs in the field of ICT. So for the building of good conditions for these interpreters, we're doing some things I want to emphasize, because starting from last year, the ICT companies in our country have so many benefits. Income tax is reduced until the 7.5%, when the other companies should pay 12% income tax. And also we don't have any profit tax for the IT companies, when the other companies pay 5 or 10%. And also unified social payment. We have this kind of payment, which is also, we don't pay for IT companies, and other companies usually pay 15 or 25%. And also we have all internal transactions and payments in USD is also allowed for the IT companies, and also other companies also. And also customs, the IT companies until the 2028, they don't pay any customs for their goods, which is coming from abroad. So this is the conditions we created for the IT companies. And also I want to emphasize about the things have done for the now. We have created the single databases for the legal entities and people, and also created single portal for the e-government services. It's used for the e-government things. And starting from the last year, we have one more strong organization who work for the e-government. It calls National Agency for the Project Management, because our government decided that e-government is mostly the changing things, changing the areas, not only ICT, not only databases, not only systems. So these two agencies now work for the e-government, and they are helping. And also we are now working about the Safe City project. It's Tashkent. We want to make a Tashkent for the safe city, and we started to build the data centers for e-government and government users. And also we are now thinking about the IoT, artificial intelligence, and big data issues, and we are making some research on it. Actually, it's in the starting. We're just starting on it, but if there is any entrepreneurs and IT companies which want to help us about this research, please come on. And also, we are creating this year IT park. So these benefits, which I've told before, can be used for the IT park representatives. So please come to our IT park, and also IT park's representative I see here, and he's one of the visionaries of our IT park from India. I think that's it, and I can answer all the questions. Next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullaev. Actually, we can hear that you are doing a lot. Now, I mean, if you allow, I will ask the private sector from Uzbekistan. Mr. Adkhamov is representing SAP, but at the same time, he's doing a lot for the private sector. Do you really feel all this change?
Around 25 years, 25 years working in software and making and integration, but no feeling, because I see digital in Uzbekistan as cargo cult. We can marvel more about it. We can create more paper, roadmaps, conception, rules, and more. But it's only marvels. It's not really, because we know how, but we don't know why. Because digital is not known, it's a verb. Digital transformation is a real doing something verbs, step by step. But we only have problem with human capital in Uzbekistan with this. For example, 6 months ago, with our partners, company EPAM from Belarus, and I dream some make in Uzbekistan company with 500 or thousands programmers, because we have 32 million and more young, okay? But really 2 months searching, we have only 12 programmers in 32 million. Why this 12? Because only 8% schools child have access to higher education. 8%. Who doing this transformation? What mindset is this young man? His dream about programmer, software, high tech? No. Who is hero for our child? Now he is 15 years or 16 or 18. They dream about entrepreneurs, about business, about high tech, digital. No. He dreams how not create some value add, is managing only, of military, of mayor, of government man, or taxman. It's dream who is here. It's hero model for our child, unfortunately, not programmers. And we have only in Uzbekistan now as software engineer programmers, no website programmers, maximum 100. And we can continue talk about digital, but who is doing this? Who is use this? And who can think why we need this? If we not answer for question why, how it's the second question. And I think we working only with our child. Mindset is changed. New hero in our child as Steve Jobs, Musk, or entrepreneur, or digital man, or digital. And it is new generation who not really in digital. It is one for our child, and maybe after 5 years or 10 years, we ready for digital. But now I'm not feeling about this. On only private sector, yes, because private sector have pain, and after it's searching solutions. But if you not pain, no solutions. But pain is others. In the digital of some myth in Uzbekistan. It's my mindset.
Thank you, Laziz. So you suggest next time we invite also our children to our sessions, yeah? I would like to introduce the next panelist. I remember our first meeting with Anatoly in Washington, in DC. And he came to the meeting with us and he immediately provided the report. I have developed with my team the report about all your countries. So it seems I was sitting in that room and I was reading some statistics about my country. And I was wondering, wow, is it really happening, all these things? And Anatoly was providing all these preconditions, all this data and analytics where he gathered all this information and was able to print a nice report out of this. So now I would like to ask Anatoly, can you please share with us why you do this? I mean, because there were reports for all our countries in CAMCA region, and why you are traveling from United States to here, I mean, to CAMCA Forum, why you care this, what you want to do this, and what exactly the StrategEast is doing, I mean, and what benefits, I mean, all our countries, all our citizens can get out of cooperation with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarkhan. My name is Anatoly Motkin. I'm president and founder of StrategEast, which is a US-based nonprofit. And one of our flagship projects or programs is called Global Minds Initiative. And it's a project that assists to Eurasian countries to develop IT industry, because we believe that IT industry is as a new sector of new economy in those countries, is able to do two things. First, to assist to those countries to transform their economies from natural resource-based model to knowledge-driven model. And the second one, which is not least important, is the new sector, so we are able to build it from the scratch on a transparent model without any corruption or other things that we don't like in traditional industries in this region. So the Global Minds initiative is consists of 4 stages. First one is we call it the inspirational talks. We bring successful IT entrepreneurs like Viber founders, as it was 1 year ago here in Uzbekistan, just to talk to the youngsters, to the students, also to talk to the IT parks residents, and to encourage them to study, to tell them that these days, if you'll be smart, you will study, you'll invent, you'll implement, you'll be wealthy, and not only smart, as it could be 20 years ago. The second stage is to assist those countries to adjust the legislation and the tax code of those countries to the needs of global IT industry. We have best examples in this region. Even in authoritarian Belarus, I think their legislation is one of the best for this region and one of the most liberal. And it could be adjusted for other cases in other countries of the region, but not only this. The third stage, in some countries, the industry does exist, like Belarus, like Ukraine, like Armenia. In some countries it does not, like Uzbekistan, like Kazakhstan, even today. It doesn't look like, we have individuals, skilled individuals who work for the IT companies, but it doesn't look like industry. So we understand that if we need to move fast simultaneously in two directions. We should create an educational program, and we should attract large-scale global companies to come to the country and to start hiring people, exactly as it was about EPAM in Uzbekistan. So if we'll move only in one direction, it would not work, because our idea is not only to educate people, but also to leave those educated guys in the country, so that they'll be able to generate an added value in their own country and not to encourage the brain drain from those countries. So if we'll have only educational program and those guys, the graduates, will not find any job, they'll leave the country. If we'll attract large-scale companies and they will not find skilled developers, the companies will leave the country, and it will take years to get them back. So what we need is actually to move simultaneously. One of the, what is good about EPAM company, which is a global company, their net worth in the New York Stock Exchange is $10 billion, and they have about 40,000 people working for them worldwide, that they have both. They have educational program, and they could also hire the graduates of their own program. So at least we have some guarantee that hundreds of people, and maybe after 2 years, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of people will find their job. And once I was asked in the States, how do you measure your success in development of your program? And I've told that, look, once one company steals an employee from other company in the same country, I think it's a success, because it means that we have a competition and we have some, I mean, we have an industry, a real industry in this country. So the implementation of this program should be based on 3 pillars. One of them is local authorities' commitment. The authority should collaborate. Otherwise, we're not partisans. We need to assist to the local government to implement and to build the proper IT industry. The second one is local youngsters, young people commitment. They should understand that their future is somehow connected to knowledge-driven economy and not to the hydrocarbons economy that they would get used in this region. And the third one, which is not less important, is global IT industry commitment. They should assist to those countries to build up a proper IT industry, not because they could get any benefit from it. We have a space, I think Central Asia is about 70 million people, with Caucasus it could be above 80, right? So it's a significant number of people whom they're able to deliver tools to become, to bring them a prosperity, but also to get them to the good part of the world, let's call it this way. I mean, to the part of the world where you have economy which is based on 2 important principles: rule of law, and private property protection, including the intellectual property protection. Sometimes people here say that when USTR, United States Trade Representative, speaks about intellectual property violations in this region, so it's important to the Americans because they need to get their royalty for their products. It's not completely true. I mean, it's completely untrue, because people here should feel protected. When in Belarus, the most successful project there is wargaming, registers its intellectual property in Cyprus, there is a reason why it does not register it in Belarus. So the outcome or the output of this, that people do not feel protected, is that they generate their added value beside the borders of their own country. And the idea is that those countries who actually educated those guys will also benefit from those revenues. So for this specific region, we're talking not about whole Eurasian countries, but about CAMCA. I think, and especially Central Asia, thanks to the reforms that are now undergone in Uzbekistan, these countries could become a new Central Asian tiger thanks to the IT industry. I think that IT industry could make this region one economic space. And it would make this region also less vulnerable to both regional challenges and global challenges, if it would actually be based on the principles that are acceptable by the global IT industry. Because global IT industry is less political player than any governmental player that tried to interfere in this region. That's why it's important. Thank you, Sarkhan.
Thank you, Anatoly. Now I would like to open the Q&A session, and I also already see the first hands. So I will ask you to introduce yourself and ask your question. And if you have the specific question to any panelist, please help us, to direct that.
Thank you very much for really insightful presentations. So my name is Hiro Akita from Tokyo, Nikkei. My question is about the CAMCA countries' future option in the context of U.S.-China struggle over the struggle over the so-called digital hegemony. Specifically speaking, U.S. Trump administration, also U.S. government as a whole, tried to urge countries like Japan, Australia, or allies in European countries to exclude a Chinese IT company like Huawei or ZTE for the security reason. So Japan and Australia have already made a decision to exclude Huawei from the 5G infrastructure. But on the other hand, China is pushing forward digital Silk Road to create their kind of sphere of influence in the digital infrastructure or digital platform. So my question is that what will be the choice of the CAMCA region? Because I think that in the future, digital sphere will be divided to totally different sphere. One is led by US, which excludes China, and the other one is China's sphere of digital influence. So what will be the choice for the CAMCA countries? Thank you.
I can respond since I'm a PhD candidate and working on my thesis on digital Silk Road and the role of international financial institutions. So you have very correctly said that there we have the competition and we have the US-China digital war ongoing where we, the CAMCA region, are struggling. So this morning, the Minister of Turkmenistan has mentioned about how they are digitalizing the system within the government. But then the question is, who is doing it? Who is providing the service? Who is getting the data internally, the governmental data, right? So therefore, key question here is cybersecurity and third party as an independent party who will be enhancing this process. So we have to face the challenge that we ourselves, like separate standing countries, cannot afford to develop and digitalize. We even came up to the concept during our fellowship program about CAMCA, where I stands not only internet, innovation, intellect, but basically promoting the digitalization among the CAMCA. So therefore, here we have the projects from the international financial institutions such as CASA 2000, and also we have European Union digital single markets. Therefore, I assume that, and I will be kind of very much promoting of IFI's intervention in this process as a third independent party in the process of promoting the digitalization and connectivity development throughout the country. So this is including the intergovernmental collaboration and also harmonizing the rule for one single market throughout the Silk Road or the CAMCA region, not having the big players or the roles of someone's influence on place.
If I may add, actually, this digital competition between great powers for Central Asia, I think, is an opportunity. So we need to add also another player, Russia. For example, for Central Asia, 90% of traffic comes from Russia. And at the moment, there is an initiative to have the what they call sovereign internet in Russia. So if they close their space for internet, then we will somehow be affected too. So we do need diversified routes. So we need to connect to China, one. But Kyrgyzstan by itself is very small. So for China to bring fiber optic line, they need Uzbekistan on board as well. We need to connect through Afghanistan and other South Asian countries to the Indian Ocean. And Digital CASA that was mentioned is one of the projects by the World Bank. Another area we need to connect is to Caucasus and to Europe. And here, involvement of Turkmenistan is very important. That's actually exactly why our countries need to work together if we want to have stable and accessible internet.
there is a big difference between what we were talking about and about what you were talking about, because when we're talking about China, we're talking about technical equipment deployment in those countries. When we're talking about United States, we're about sharing the knowledge, the skills, about training people. So it's actually two different platforms. It's true that there is, I mean, a confrontation, and the United States has made a clear statement that they will not disconnect their networks from countries who will connect themselves to Chinese 5G. But again, I've never heard about any, for example, Chinese outsourcing company in this region. So they do not pay money in this region, they just try to connect them physically. We'll see. I think that countries should choose also that either they prefer to become only the platform for Chinese expansion, or they prefer to collaborate with the countries who provide with knowledge, with some different resources, with added value that it could generate in the future.
And also, Uzbekistan is very good with the USA, but last month our president came to China, and during this visit he visited also the Huawei office. So you see the direction. I mean, after this being there, he came back and ordered to our minister to think about the 5G technology also. And also, I want to emphasize that without 5G and without AI, we cannot do anything in the future. So we are one of the part of this. And also we are thinking about the digital CASA project with the World Bank also. We're just in this phase of negotiations, but I think we will be the part of it. And that's our direction.
Thank you. We have the question over there.
Hello. My name is Aybek. My question is, since we are talking about digitalizing in this area, so we are talking about China, about the US. Was there any consideration of the new projects, or let's say, for example, about the Elon Musk's with the SpaceX, for example, with this Starlink? So nobody actually believed that this would happen, especially me. But we see that he has now already 60 satellites, and till 2024, it's tomorrow, he will have already 12,000 satellites there. So probably this would be also the future. This also is the alternative for the internet, for the connectivity there, since it's not only government program, it's a private program where a lot of other companies are also involved, or especially also from Europe. So probably this one could be also considered. Did anyone think about that, or is it a solution also for our region?
I will pick up this question if you don't mind. Probably yes, but I don't believe we are there yet at all. I mean, we are struggling completely different problems in this region, and many of the panelists mentioned that first of all, we are struggling with the problem of human capital. I mean, we are not doing the basic stuff. I mean, we are not preparing the current youngsters for the problems of tomorrow even, that rather than talking about 2024, about the SpaceX, etc. projects. Maybe some individuals will be there, but not the entire society. This is my problem. For example, my friend from Kyrgyzstan, he mentioned that the people living in village will get internet from Kyrgyz Telecom to sell their horse milk, but do they really need it? I mean, this is the main question. I mean, so far I couldn't get an answer. I mean, I will be asking you privately about this. So maybe SpaceX will change the way how we were getting the internet, yes, but I personally think it doesn't relate it, I mean, to this region especially. I mean,
actually, it's somehow related. I can bring up one case, not Elon Musk, but there is an entrepreneur called Greg Weiler, and he has a competing project called OneWeb. And he works with UNICEF on the corporate social responsibility aspect of his project, and he wants to connect the remote schools across the world to the satellite internet. Of course, with the broadband, fixed broadband, nothing can compete, but satellite can be an alternative. And Greg Weiler wants to connect schools, and he selected 6 schools across the globe, in Alaska, in Ecuador, in Nepal, and 1 school in Kyrgyzstan. A very remote school in a very mountainous area of Narin, where it takes 1 day just to drive there. And 6 months out of the year, they are blocked by snow. And now they will have satellite internet there as an experiment. So I hope it will work.
There is also another initiative done by Facebook. It's called Wire the World. So there are some of the initiatives, but it's still challenging, as it was mentioned, human capital. Still, we do not face the challenge of having the disruptive professions, and we in the countries are still having this promotion of all traditional professions, while the highly demand on IT professions is still lacking, and the capacity is still lacking.
Thanks. By the way, my first job was to bring the envelope from room A to room B, which is not existing anymore. So maybe that's why I'm in the in digital world. We have a question from India.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Partha. I am working with IT Park of Tashkent, part of IT Ministry of Uzbekistan. One is an information to building up the capacity, human resource build-up capacity. Uzbekistan, along with IT Ministry and Education Ministry, taken a process to educate 1 million youngsters in the IT field. Very shortly, that project going to be rolled out. I hope you can talk more on that subject. Another one is we are going, a question for all the panelists. See, many of the startup companies look into the government, how they can get into the government projects. Many of the times the government look for the big companies to handle the projects. How all your countries going to support, because I'm more concerned always the startups, how the startups can get into the government project, how your countries are helping.
Now we're building with the Indian MIT University, we're building here the university in Tashkent, which will be preparing the IT specialists in the field of AI, artificial intelligence, and also management, IT managers. So they're one of the top 1,000 universities in the world, in the world itself. And now the construction is going on. Just we started collecting the documents for the university to be the part of this. And what else can I say? And that's it.
How startups, do they have a chance to take the government projects?
Yeah, of course. And because we're building this, your organization, I mean Technopark, for this reason. Why the government should do its IT projects only with the government. We want to give more to the private sector. And we want to do it through these IT parks and IT, not only IT parks, we also have a Mirza Ulugh Innovation Center, you know about it. This center is a kind of IT park, but it don't have any space. So any company can be the part of it. And we are planning, our government is planning to give all the IT projects, our government IT projects, to these parks so that they could share with among the entrepreneurs, IT entrepreneurs.
Quickly add one good initiative which this CAMCA Forum as a platform is giving. Yesterday we agreed with the Deputy Minister that we will be providing hands-on training, kind of an internship for the management of IT park in our technological park back in Tbilisi, Georgia, and sharing the experience and also initiating the joint startup exchange program.
Thank you. Diana? Finally, I mean, we will hear the question from lady. I was thinking it's only main topic.
Thank you. I'm Diana from Armenia. So thank you to the presenters for telling us about the reforms and how you are embarking on reforms in your respective countries in this sector. And it's hard to underestimate the role of IT in our life. I mean, some of the speakers has mentioned that it's like we need it like water, like air now. I mean, I don't think we need to answer why. It's just there. But it's also true that development of technologies which provides instant access to information and enormous connectivity in the world, it puts a lot of pressure on the government to democratize their societies. It makes it more difficult to hide information, to manipulate their people, and many, many things in terms of good governance. So my question to you would be from a little different angle. Do you think the digitalization process in your countries support democratization process? All these social media platforms which rest on digitalization and internet and everything. Do you have any examples from your countries how democratization and digitalization process is connected? And will it support our region to democratize and cooperate more as a whole?
Very good question. Thank you very much. And I want to say the democratization is one of the key important issues of IT, because in my country also. And as an example, I can tell, for example, we're collecting appeals from all around the country, and it goes through directly to the president. And it's done by the IT. So we have also this kind of, we have a virtual reception of president. From this year, we are opening virtual reception for the prime minister, and it's mostly for the entrepreneurs. And also we are building e-government for the democracy. I mean, e-government things are mostly about democracy, because everybody could, so that everybody could any services online. So, and everybody could say his words to the government online. And of course, we have so many portals for people who can, where they can tell anything to the government. So, and all the government bodies must take these notes and work about this. So this is, I think, the examples about the democracy and IT.
And we are ready to pick up the last question. Farukh, please.
Hello, my name is Farukh. I'm from Tajikistan. Minds and futurists proclaim that changes in technological world will be happening so fast in the future that we will stop even identifying that the change has happened. So my question is, have you thought that in future, because of those changes, the infrastructure that government is now investing will be obsolete by the time when you will finish your work? For instance, if you'll be preparing the specialist in the sphere of programming, and in 10 years, that job will be taken by artificial intelligence. By the time when we will complete that work, like in our countries, those specialists will be not needed. So what's your opinion on that? Thank you.
Okay, very good question. And of course, this is good point, but still, if we don't do anything so that we could think it will not be okay after 5 years and do just nothing, we have just nothing. That's why we're preparing the specialists for the, I already said that for the, we start for the AI also, and also for the big data and IoT, this kind of measures. So we just don't have any chance to say that we don't have to do this. That's why we're doing this. And also we're trying to follow all the trends around the world and open more universities, open more majors, and follow all the spheres about the ICT so that we could catch up all the changes.
Also, so the world development has very much speeded it up, and therefore our reforms and developments have to be triple, 10 times accelerated. Whenever people are saying that, okay, this is the mindset of this generation, so it will take another generation to absorb it. No, we have to develop, and when we are having the programs, we are not only focusing the youth, we are focusing also the elder people. The mindset changing has to happen in every generation, because we do not have time to wait for the next generations to have the impact of the reforms.
I want to add one more case. Starting from last year, we started project opening the IT learning centers in every district. We have 200 districts, and we'll open IT learning program. And it will be free of charge for the youngsters. And we are doing this to catch up all the changes, rapid changes, and make a quick wins there, so that we could prepare not only 4 years university school, and we want to prepare quick, small things, so that youngsters could use these knowledges and work on the good profession. Thank you.
When we talk about 10 years in the future, it's, some reflection, we move to democracy with digital from dictator to democratization, but think how we go to digital dictator from artificial intelligence. For example, now my computer roads from my house to work, from point A to B. I not think now, only play and listen music and go. But tomorrow, I only go to home and not also with this. And tomorrow, maybe I thought, today it's not good to you go to work on some other. Hi Alexa, what about today I'm romantic meeting with some Michael? Well, Michael's not good to you. Why? I know you from your boss. Your DNK, your genetic and other, and I know about Michael. Michael's is not good for you. Maybe Alisher is good for you. It is in 5 and 10 years we go to under digital dictator. It is dangerous, and I happy in my country have some bottom switch off of internet, because one only point in Uzbek Telecom have to internet. No, Elon Musk and thousand under me, up to me is satellite, but only 1 point in Uzbek Telecom have. It's not so dangerous for us.
Thank you, Laziz. I would like to thank everyone. The time is up. We still have just one last minute. So, all in all, what we discussed today, that digital transformation will be leading to anti-corruption sessions in all our countries, so it will lead to open government model. So we also realized that we need to invest more in fiber optics and internet connectivity in this region, so as our colleagues mentioned. We also witnessing that reforms in Uzbekistan is helping now and completely changing the way how the tax been collected in Uzbekistan in order to attract more investors to IT industry. Also very good mentioned by Laziz that we need to find the new heroes for our next generation Y and Z. We need to hear their current demands. And as Anatoly mentioned, we need to recruit big companies. It's not only the job of governments, and the big companies together with the government should create the balance. I mean, we are creating the generation that will need to have the equal jobs in order not to leave the countries. Otherwise, we will just invest for nothing. And before saying bye to everyone, now after the session we will invite you all back to the ballroom, because we will have a coffee session. And just one last joke before we close up. The wife, the husband is coming back home, and he is whispering something to his wife, and she's telling, why? I mean, why you're telling? Tell me. I mean, I cannot hear you. He said, no, if I will tell you loudly, Zuckerberg will hear us. And we laughed, and so did the Siri, Alexa, and all other digital assistants. So the truth is near somewhere, so you never know. So just don't rely only on technologies, and we should keep our humanity, identity, and we should lead this process. Digital transformation is something that depends on us. Thank you very much.